What's good, everyone? Welcome back for another session. I've been playing around with this unit's EZA for a little bit, so I did go through a couple of runs on different events. I tried to find, appropriate battles to where you can really see this unit perform on a variety of settings. The skill sets include parameters around, different amounts of enemies and what have you. So for the purpose of this test, I did link up the INT LR cell with the physical version of the the Cell and Cell Juniors, just because they do share quite a bit of links. I think 6 in total, so it works out pretty well from what I could tell. So just footnote, throughout the video in terms of this test overall, I did link up the unit mainly with the physical version of LR Cell. Now, I did go through a couple of events, like I said. The first segment is on the red zone stages, and then I switched over to the collection of epic battles. And from grand scheme of things, it was relatively short amount of turns within those kind of event settings, so I didn't necessarily go through a particular event that had, turn counts that would go up to, 10 plus or what have you. So just keep in mind that's kind of the format that I went through in terms of testing the unit overall. Again, I think because the skill sets do have parameters around different amount of enemies or whatnot, like before the transformation you would get like an additional key +2 and attack increase of 30% per existent enemy, and then depending on the event itself, that's going to switch up the parameters. So I did mix it up with a combination of single unit enemies versus multi-unit enemies on the field or what have you. So that's pretty much the way I went about in terms of the overall events. I will say, because of the requirement for the transformation was a little bit improved. I think it went from like 30 to 40%, so that makes it actually quite easier to get the transformation versus before. Even on difficult events where you have to keep in mind your overall HP levels or whatnot, so you don't have to so you don't accidentally get KO'd or what have you. So yeah, I mean, overall I think the unit is very good in terms of the overall skill sets. Team building's pretty straightforward. I went with the AGL first form cell leaders with the the power absorption and the Android Cell Saga, and then you get that extra boost if you're on the Android category, I believe. So it kind of works out pretty well. In terms of the overall build of the team, I did include a couple of support units like the physical LR androids and also the strength type second form cell. You get a pretty good boost overall from both a attack and defense standpoint based on the category requirements, and obviously the LR cell falls into that. So yeah, I mean, I think it was pretty smooth in terms of building the team overall. I am still working on the showcase for the EZA AGL LR Gohan unit. I want to be very specific about the events that I incorporate into the footage for the tester showcase itself. So it's taking a little bit more time because I want to set things up the right way and what have you. So give or take, maybe in the next 12 to 24 hours, I'll get the showcase for that unit as well. But overall, my impression, it's a fun unit with the EZA for this guy. It makes things very interesting, for lack of better words, and I think defense-wise, I've even in these circumstances, I've seen it upwards of like 390k in defense probably, which is pretty decent. And obviously you're going to take some hits along the way, especially on more difficult events, but it's a good enough defensive stat that definitely can mitigate some damage for sure. And I think the interesting thing with the physical LR cell link up is obviously that unit has an AoE with the 12 key super attack, so that kind of when you're facing multiple enemies, it does make it certainly interesting, and it kind of clears the map a little bit too, because obviously the physical version is not just a good link partner for the INT version, it's vice versa as well. So overall it resulted in a pretty synergetic relationship between the two, and I certainly enjoy that setup. I did think about going with the AGL transforming cell, but from a link set overall, it seems like you know, these two, you know, this pairing between the two units is certainly better in terms of links, you know, purely on a link setup. So, you know, ultimately I ended up going with that approach, but I think even with the AGL cell, let's take a look. You're sharing upwards of, you know, 3 to 5 links. Like the first form cell will be just 3 links shared, but once you know, the AGL counterpart transforms, and you can share essentially up to 5 links. The only thing missing is probably the legendary power, but you could essentially pick up that link if you know, you have a floating support or floating unit that's an LR unit. You could obviously activate it, but it seems like from, you know, the overall runs, I did focus mainly on the EZA and LR cell to be on the first slot, just because I wanted to make sure the enemy didn't necessarily get KO'd by the physical LR. So that's, you know, you can switch on and off between the first and second slot, obviously, but I think from you know, pre-super attack defense standpoint, I think the INT version is certainly better than the physical version, so it likely makes sense if you're gonna go with that pairing to have, you know, the intelligence version of LR cell to be on the first slot to mitigate a little bit more damage a little bit better. So that's just my personal take on it. I'm sure the physical version can do, you know, decent, but that's probably the way I would look at it if you do plan on running these two guys together. Now the AGL version obviously has, you know, built-in functions of, you know, evasion or better defense versus the physical LR. So, you know, that'll certainly switch around the you know, first and second slot allocations, I guess, for lack of better words. Yeah, but I mean, overall fun unit. You know, the AGL Gohan, like I said, I'm still working on, and I'm very specific on the team build and activation of, you know, active skills or transformation, as well as the overall event itself. So like I said, I'll keep that in mind in terms, or keep that in mind in terms of, you know, the overall content upload schedule, I would say. This one was a little bit easier because, you know, you don't necessarily have to worry about stacking, you know, per turn like, you know, Gohan does with the build-up of defense, or, you know, waiting for the you know, transformation to activate on, you know, the counter partner or what have you. This is more, you know, with Cell is a lot more straightforward because it's not based on a turn requirement in terms of when you can, you know, transform or what have you. It's purely based on a 40%. So even if you know, a battle, you know, resets and you're back to turn 1 on a new event or new battle within the event, you know, you can still activate the transformation. So it makes recording, I guess, from a process standpoint, a lot simpler, I guess, is probably the best way to put it. You know, with all that being said, I am quite curious how they're going to roll out 8th anniversary. I mean, these units are extremely satisfying from an EZA standpoint, so I'm sure they're going to, you know, surpass that quite a bit in terms of what they're going to roll out, not just from a unit and stat standpoint, but different events and, you know, stuff that's going to go on during the campaign. So quite exciting. Like I said in some of the other videos, I do plan on being a little bit more proactive about covering, you know, the information and content and details. So to the extent I can within the work stream lifestyle, I definitely plan to. But, you know, let me know what your thoughts are overall with the Extreme Z Awakening for the Extreme Intelligence LR Cell. I mean, personally, I'm pretty damn satisfied, and it's a good unit and fun to use. So again, let me know what your thoughts are, and I will certainly check it out. As always, thanks for watching, and I will see you guys later. Alright, peace out.